Welcome to this holistic yoga class. It's a general yoga class and have to hand your yoga blocks and a blanket. We're working today on lifting our spirits by lengthening the spine, radiating from our centers and opening our hearts. So come to all fours. Take your hands a little bit further forwards than your shoulders. And we'll start to work with cat-cow. So arching up, letting your head drop, really relax your neck. Tuck your tailbone, scoop the belly in, and maybe exhaling here. And then inhaling, lifting your tailbone, lifting your chest, broadening across the collarbones to feel those shoulder blades draw in and down. And carry on like that, scooping the belly in, and you can inhale here if you wish. If your back feels tight, sometimes it's nicer to do that, and then exhaling, drawing through the lower belly, getting really long and strong there. So there's really no right or wrong with the breathing, but do somehow match your breath to the movement. Just check your fingers and check that your index fingers are pointing forwards and the other fingers are kind of fanning out, and that will help to keep you more open across your chest. Just really enjoy the feeling of your spine moving. The feeling of each vertebra articulating, moving with its neighbour, and creating this lovely flow through your spine. Lovely work. Now come to a neutral position with your spine. We're going to do just a few elbow circles. So lifting up one elbow towards the ceiling, circling it back and down and forwards and up. And just do between 3 and 5 circles on that side. Really feeling those upper back muscles getting some work. And when you've done that, it's just a short movement, then coming to the other side and doing some circling there. Really paying attention to squeezing your elbow up towards the ceiling and getting that waking up feeling in your upper back. Beautiful. When you've done about 3 or 5, then bring that arm down. And then walking your hands back towards your thighs and then up your thighs. And we'll come to a lunge. So you might like your blocks at this point and put them in front of you near where your hands were. And then take a step forwards with your right foot. And you could perhaps use the blocks underneath your hands. It would give you more length in your spine. So hands come down onto the floor inside of your foot, in line with your shoulders roughly. And you can do a little rocking forwards and backwards here. Just feeling the hip on the right. Might feel a little bit in the hamstring as you go back on the right hamstring, right back of the thigh. And as you rock forwards, you might feel a little bit of lengthening in the left hip on the front of the thigh. So just feel all of that happening. And then we're pressing down with the left hand, so opposite hand to the foot that's in front of you. Bring the right knee directly over the right ankle. Optionally lifting the back knee. So if you want to do that, tucking the back toes and lifting the back knee. Make sure your spine is a long line. So if you feel a bit rounded in your back, then walk your hands further forwards. Feel really long there. And then we're going to do arm circles with that right arm. So you're reaching your right arm forwards and then circle it up towards the ceiling and then back and then down, and do another 4 of those circles. Feel how the breath gets pulled in as you reach your arm up and back. Press down through the standing arm, press down a lot through the feet. Really feel that they're working for you. Good. When you've done your 5, and you can take a bit more time if you want to, rest down, back of the knee down if it was down, and scoot back into child pose. You can rest your head on the block. Take your palms facing up, stretchy fingers. Stretchy palms will help you to wake up those muscles in your upper back, which help to open your heart, which brings a great deal of positivity into your system. So breathe and feel that. Lovely work. Really stretch and wiggle those fingers a little bit more. And then turning the palms to face down and coming back up to that lunge position. So you could walk your hands back towards your thighs and up your thighs, and then take a step forwards with your left foot. Position the block and your front foot so it feels right for you. So that you can have like your hips above your back knee, or you can have your hips, your pelvis forwards of your back knee. It just depends on how much you like to lengthen in your hip. So rocking forwards and back. And you can go for the full hamstring stretch where you tip up onto your heel as you go back and pull your toes back towards your shin. Or you can just use this as a gentle mobilization and warming up of the joints. Up to you. Go into it as much or as little as you like, but prioritizing comfort in your system. No need to overstrain or overstretch, and it doesn't help. It doesn't do any good to overstretch and overstrain. Okay, excellent work. And then taking your right hand down, deciding whether you want to tuck your toes and lift your back knee, up to you. And then you're lifting your left arm forwards and then up towards the ceiling. Try to create, and then back. Try to create the biggest, widest, stretchiest circle that you possibly can. And turning your ribs to create that circle. So your rib cage turns, your head turns. You might even look at your thumb as it moves. And keep pressing down into the inner ball of the foot as you do that. Good. When you've done your 5 circles, then rest down. And you could actually come back to all fours position, put your block out of the way, and then come up into dog pose. So index fingers are forwards, hands just roughly under your shoulders, tuck the toes, hips go back towards the heels first, and then you lengthen. So you're prioritizing that lengthening of your spine, and you're remembering and reconnecting with those muscles in your upper back by externally rotating your upper arm bones whilst firmly planting down into the pads, the sort of backs of the knuckles, pressing down onto the floor, the pads beneath the index finger, thumb, and little fingers. Lengthen, 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 and breathe. And feel the joy of the spine really lengthening equally on both sides and decompressing. Breathing there. Beautiful work. And then when you want to, coming down, resting in a child pose. And remember, we're going to do 2 more dog poses and make this work for you. So if you want to kind of pop up into another dog pose quickly, then go for it. If you want to rest more, then go for that. And the next time we're up in dog pose, we're going to lift a right leg back. So keep the pressure equally down through both hands, which will be tricky, but see what you can do. Lift the right leg back, sort of in line with your spine as roughly as you can think of it. And then turn the knee out. So you can bend the knee, squeeze the heel towards your opposite buttock, and then lift the knee, the right knee, up towards the ceiling as high, 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 high as you can go, pressing the ground away, reaching and opening and finding all that space for your right hip. Breathing there, squeezing in the right buttock muscle. Okay, and then bring the knees together and come down and rest down. Walk your hands over to the left side of your mat. Good, and continue that lengthening on the left side of your waist. Right side of your waist. Right side of your rib cage. Just breathing down, deep down into your lower rib area, into your diaphragm. And moving here in the lower ribs is really, really helpful for lifting our mood. So getting the breath deep down, really billowing out. So it's very empowering and strengthening. Lovely work. And then lifting the head and coming back into another dog pose. So tucking the toes under and lifting up onto your heels, lifting up your tailbone and lengthening through the spine. Good. Heels really don't have to be on the ground at all, so don't strive for that. So just feel that you're lengthening through the backs of the legs as much as possible, lifting the tailbone and widening the sit bones, and then taking your left leg up and back. So at first it might be just around the same height as the trajectory of your spine, so you can think of a slope from the leg all the way down to your shoulder to your hand on the floor. Don't worry if it's not that high, that's okay too. And then bending the knee, squeezing that left buttock muscle and reaching the left knee out to the side and as high as you can make it. Really squeeze. So the left heel is kind of going towards the right buttock muscle. And you might lift the knee high, 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 high. Feel like you're just moving as much as you can within that comfortable range of motion. Pressing down through your hands and breathing and feeling. And then when you're ready to, you can straighten that leg and bring it down and come down for a child pose, palms facing up again. Good. Feel your breath once again moving into the back lower rib area. Ah, yes. And then doing a little bit of a walking of your hands over to the right side and breathing into the side waist. So feel that lovely lengthening in the side waist, the billowing out of your ribs. Just really encouraging the diaphragm to move deeper down and wider out into those ribs, into the abdomen. It's a lovely bit of an energy charge to do that in a very sort of soft way. It lifts your energy. Okay, and then bringing your hands back to center and up onto all fours, walking your hands up towards your thighs and taking a step forwards with your strongest leg. And then pressing down into the thigh of that leg and exhaling, coming up to standing. And we're going to do triangle pose, Trikonasana. Another name for it is the posture of joy. What a beautiful name. So if you come to facing the long side of your mat with your feet wide, and they're not as wide as you would take your feet in warrior pose, but they're wide, much wider than hip width apart, much wider. And then you're spinning on your right heel to a 90-degree angle, and your left toes might come in a little bit. So left toes might come in about 45 degrees or a little bit less than that. So your hips, your pelvis is facing off to the right. And this is important to remember with triangle pose. Your pelvis and your spine are doing different things. They're not locked in the same kind of direction. So pelvis is pointing to the right. Good. And then both legs are really straight and really strong. So push down through the 3 points of contact in your feet, inner ball, outer ball, heel. Press the ground away with those points and feel that you're pulling energy up through your legs, through your pelvic floor and through your spine. So feel that really kind of energy drawing up through your legs and your spine. And then we're taking the thumb and index finger like an L shape into the right hip crease, having an intention to keep your spine absolutely straight and just bending at this hip crease and folding over that right leg. You can slide the hand down the inner leg towards the knee, just above the knee, just below the knee, whatever feels nice for you. Take the left hand onto your rib cage and turn the rib cage in opposition to the pelvis up and round towards the left. So the pelvis is still a little bit down towards the right and the rib cage is spinning up and round towards the left. And then you can lift your left arm at a right angle to your waist and reach it up, reach through the fingertips. Do that stretchy palm action that wakes up the muscles around your shoulder blades. Don't be in a hurry to get your right hand further down your leg. That's not important. What's important is that you're long on the right side of your waist, long on the underside waist. So some of you I know might have to slide up the leg a little bit to get that length in the underside waist. That's more important than reaching anywhere. And reaching back with that hand up in the air and stretch in the palm and feel strong in the fingers and feel that radiating energy out from your heart center, out from your dantian down into your feet. So don't forget about your legs, strong feeling in your legs. And that knee on the right should be lining up the second, third toe as well. Don't let it roll in. You can use your hand to help it keep in alignment. Lovely work. Okay, and then exhaling, pressing through your feet, engaging abdominals and coming up. Good. Bringing the arms down and taking the right toes to point forwards. Sometimes we go a bit out of alignment, so just check that your heels are pretty much in the same line. And then spinning on your left heel to take your left toes out 90 degrees. Straight legs, remember. See if you can externally encourage that external rotation in the left thigh as much as possible. And this is why we want to turn the pelvis round towards the left. And if you turn the whole pelvis a bit, not the rib cage, but the pelvis round towards the left, you'll find you'll be able to locate the knee in the right relationship to your second, third toe on the left there. So that's why we don't want to face the pelvis forwards. We want to prioritize knee being in alignment with the second, third toe. Okay, lecture over. So roll that pelvis as much as you need to, or rotate that pelvis as much as you need to the left, and hand in your hip crease. Press down through the legs, lift up through those 3 points of contact, through your legs, through your spine, and then hinge over that hip. Good. Slide the hand down the inner leg. Somewhere above the knee is a good place. Might be somewhere below the knee if you've got longer hamstrings. Check that knee is in line with the second, third toe joint, and then your right hand on your right rib cage and spinning your rib cage in opposition to your pelvis. This is what a lot of people get a bit wrong with Trikonasana. They don't realize they can do a different thing with your rib cage than you can do with your pelvis. So pelvis turns down, rib cage turns up. And then when you've set that, then reaching that arm up and out, radiating the palm of the hand. It's like a little sunshine in the palm of the hand, radiating out through the fingers and then reaching back. So fingers should be separated, space between the fingers. Open out and reach back and feel those upper back muscles working. And remember, you might need to readjust. You might need to slide up the leg a little bit so your left side of your waist is longer. You might need to turn your pelvis in and down. Just feel that you're creating comfort. That's the main thing. Breathing and strength and stability in that triangle in the base, in your legs. Good work. Okay, and then sliding up your legs. And after that, let's come to a standing position. Turn your toes pointing forwards and bring your feet to hip width apart. Toes pointing straight forwards, and reconnect once again with that tripod of the feet, heels, center of the heels, inner ball of the foot, outer ball of the foot. Make sure pretty much that your toes are pointing forwards or that they're at least turned out a little bit but symmetrically, if that's more comfortable for you. Press down through your feet. Feel like you're sucking up energy through your legs like a sapling drawing up sap in the spring. Lift up through your spine Feel the back of the neck is long and the back of the waist is long, and your gaze is straight ahead, eye height, horizon level. Your arms are down by your sides, and once again feel that energy in the palms of your hands. Stretch the fingers away from each other and feel how that creates energy in your upper back, opens your chest and kind of brings you a little bit more purposeful kind of feeling in your body. Breathe there and feel strong. And notice, are you leaning more into your heels or the balls of your feet? And can you bring that to a kind of a balance between the front and the back, the left, the right, the inner and the outer feet? Okay, now I invite you to interlace your fingers behind your back. If that doesn't feel nice, then you can simply bring your arms behind you at shoulder width. And you're perhaps lifting your hands, clasped hands, if that's possible for you, away from your back, away from your pelvis, just a little way to feel the stretch across your chest. Notice if your belly has disengaged, you want to draw in through the lower belly and lower ribs, and notice if your neck has tightened. You want to feel the neck relaxed, jaw relaxed, face relaxed. Good, feel that energy in your heart center. And then release the arms. If you've got clasped hands, then clasp the hands the other way. Bring your attention to your feet again. Are they in balance, left to right, front to back, inner to outer? And then press down through your feet, energize your legs, lift up through your spine, relax your neck, and then lift the arms back again. Breathe and open across the chest. Pull the tummy muscles in, lower ribs in, lower belly just above the pubic bone, drawing in. Good work. Okay, and then releasing down. And then taking your legs wide again. We're going to do side angle pose. So it's a little bit wider, the feet, than triangle pose. And once again, you're spinning on the right heel, bending the right knee, and perhaps taking the left toes a little bit in. You want the back toes in line with the back knee. So when you bend the back knee, just get the toes in alignment with that back knee, and then you won't be putting it under strain. Have the front knee directly over the front ankle. And again, we're hinging. So press down through all those 3 points of contact and then hinge from that hip crease. You could put the L shape in there and fold and take either your hand, if you're not that flexible, or your forearm onto the thigh. And then again, take your left hand onto the rib cage and spin that rib cage up and round towards the left. Then bring the left arm down by your side in like a tin soldier kind of a feeling. So your arm's down by your hip. Palm of the hand is facing in. And then like a tin soldier, you're just going forwards and up to take your arm up by your ear. And then still spinning that rib cage up and round towards the left as you radiate through each finger and thumb. So each finger and thumb is reaching over to the right, and you're pressing down through the outer edge of that left foot. So you're lengthening through the left side, and again, kind of really working with those space for the diaphragm to move into on the left side of your chest. Long feeling in the spine and radiating feeling in the body, coming from the center into your feet, coming from the center into your hands. Good. And then exhaling, taking that arm back down by your side, and inhaling, straightening the leg and coming up again. Good. Toes pointing forwards. Spin on your left heel. And bend the left knee. And remember, the right toes come in a little bit. Bend the right knee just to feel where it is, and point the toes in the same direction for the happiest knee. And then bring your knee on the left in alignment with the ankle. So again, you can turn the pelvis a bit if your inner thigh is a little bit tight. So then pressing down through the feet, energizing the legs, folding from that hip crease. You can bring the L shape in there, bringing your hand or your forearm down onto your thigh, and then right hand on your right rib cage, and turn the rib cage in opposition to the pelvis. Turn the rib cage up and round towards the right. Excellent. Slide the arm down by your hip. That's it. Stretchy fingers. And then like a tin soldier, reaching its arm forwards and up by your ear. Good. And feel that long line pressing down through the feet, pressing down through the outer edge of the back foot, and really lengthening through that right side. Keep spinning the rib cage up and round. You can look forwards or you can look down towards your left foot. Whatever feels nice for you. And breathe. Press and lengthen and feel the breath, how the breath moves. Make sure your knee's not overshooting on that left side. Good. And keep feeling that lengthening in the inner left leg. Good. And then exhaling, coming down. Good. And inhaling, coming up to standing. So we're going to have a play, and it's definitely a play with dancer pose. So there are a few different variations of this. You can have a look at the photo guidance and see it as not a kind of creating perfection in the pose, but enjoying and playing. So zigzag your feet in towards each other now. So you're about hip width apart. And the simplest version of this pose is the quadriceps stretch standing. So if you know your balance isn't easy, then you can put a finger on the wall or a mantelpiece or something like that, and then bend up, let's start from Tadasana. So shift over your weight from Tadasana, so equal weight through both feet, long through the spine. And then shift your weight over onto your left foot and bend your right knee and catch hold of the right ankle. Good, good, good. And reach down through the knee. Pull the tummy muscles in, lower belly and just below the ribs. And then you can either have your other hand on the wall or you can reach your standing arm up towards the ceiling. And that creates a little bit more lengthening in your spine. Breathing there. Do your best to see if you can bring the knees pretty much level, although your right knee might be a bit further forwards than your left knee if you've got tight quads. So breathing there, and then really feeling your standing leg, inner ball of the foot, outer ball of the foot, heel. And if you want to, having a play with this variation, you're tipping forwards from your hips and reaching your right knee back and your left arm forwards and your chest forwards. So there is a bit of a back bend here, but not much. And you're just playing around with it. It can get really wobbly, but that's great for your ankle and your foot and your knee of the standing leg side. So breathing there, feel a little bit of opening across your chest and just play with it. Good. And if you topple over, just come back into it. Okay, and then exhaling, coming down and coming to the other side. So starting from the Tadasana, so both feet down on the ground, inner ball, outer ball, heel, pulling up through the legs, strong and sturdy legs, pulling up through the spine, lengthened spine, and then shifting the weight over onto your right foot. And then lifting up the left leg, catching on the front of the ankle. And you can use a belt for this, or you can do it lying down on the floor if this isn't accessible to you. Good. And then perhaps lifting up your standing leg arm, pulling the tummy muscles in, making sure that your knees are relatively level as much as you can. Stretch the fingers away from each other. Good. Lengthen and open. And then if you want to, just tipping forwards from the hip crease. So your spine stays kind of straight. It might go into a little bit of an arch, but you're still engaging in the lower belly and the lower ribs a little bit. Knee reaches back behind you. If you're really kind of used to this pose, then you can bring the heel away from the buttock so that there's this unfolding of your back leg into more of a right angle. Breathing there. Just going with the wobbling. Remember the variations if you need the variations. and have a fingertip on the wall if you need to do that. Okay, and then inhaling and coming up. Marvelous work. And then another playful pose, lion pose. Let's come to seated. So you will sit for lion pose in a kind of I invite you to sit. If it doesn't feel right for you, then of course you can make variations, but try 2 blocks underneath your sit bones. And we're actually kneeling, so your ankles are behind you, so you're kneeling and sit bones down on the block. You might have the block at portrait so you can fit your sit bones. Your sit bones are much sort of closer together than your buttocks, so you can get, as long as you can get your sit bones down on the block, that's all that matters. Knees a little bit wide. And there's loads of things going on in lion pose, but one of them is a little stretch for the inner forearms. So if you lean forwards, and it might come off the blocks, that's okay. But if you lean forwards and bring your hands down onto the ground, but with your fingers facing you. So you're turning you're externally rotating your arms, that's it. And you might not get your heel of your hand down on the floor. It might just be your fingers. And just have a little play with how that feels. You might have lifted up entirely off of the blocks. That's okay. That's it. Just kind of rock forwards and backwards and feel what your range of motion is here. And if it feels really, really like, oh, this is too much for my wrist, if you've got carpal tunnel or anything like that, then you can turn your hands to face forwards. But if it feels like a kind of a satisfying stretch that's not a strain, then go with this. It's really helpful. So you're going to sit back down on the blocks again. That's it. And you can have just your fingertips on the floor. Good. And then when you're going to take a deep inhalation. And when you exhale, you're going to open your eyes, stick your tongue out and reach your hands forwards on the floor. So not so you're straining them, but just so you can feel that comfortable stretch. So let's go together. Inhaling. And exhaling with a and then inhaling, exhaling, you're looking at your nose, sticking your tongue out and really, really wide eyes. You can look at the photo guidance sheet for a good laugh. And then inhaling again, one more time. Lovely, lovely. In fact, I think we'll do 2 more now we're here. If your hands are feeling like, or arms, wrists are feeling a bit uncomfortable, then turn your fingers to face forwards and try doing the lion pose with your hands in the normal way, fingers facing forwards. Inhaling again, and you're kind of rocking back. And then exhaling, you're leaning forwards into your hands. Eyes wide open, tongue trying to touch your chin. And then again. Lovely, lovely. It's a good one to do with kids. They just love that one. Okay, so now we're going to find our way back up to standing again. Just one more standing pose. Taking your feet wide, clearing anything off your mat if you have blocks there. Feet as wide as feels nice for your inner thighs. And you may like to have blocks ready to bring your hands down onto. We're doing a simple wide-legged forward bend to stretch those inner thighs. Good work. The blocks would be stacked up on top of each other, or if you have brick blocks, you can have them standing on end or standing on their side. They're very useful for this one. Make sure that your toes are pretty much pointing forwards. Make sure your weight is on inner ball, outer ball. Don't lose that outer edge of your foot and heel. And then bring your hands to your hips and bend your knees a little bit. If you know your hamstrings are tight, just bend your knees as much as you need to here. And with your hands on your hips, lift your chest up, slightly arch your back because you want to encourage that arch in your back. And then exhale, tip forwards, bending the knees as much as you need to, and bring your hands down, perhaps onto the blocks, perhaps onto the floor. Your hips are in line with your heels still, so they've not gone back. or forwards, and your heels are firmly grounded. And then you play around with where your hands want to be. They can be in a dog pose type situation with your arms forwards. You could bring your hands directly underneath the shoulders and work on arching your back and opening across your chest and unrounding your lower back. To unround your lower back, which is important, bend your knees a little bit, and then you'll find that your spine gets longer and your tailbone can lift up. And if you're flexible in your hamstrings, then you can bring your hands more in line with your feet and your toes and let your head hang. So it's good to either take the dog pose or let the head hang, let the neck release, let everything go in your jaw, your face. Feel the weight of your head, but feel the strength in your legs, the power in your legs to support you. Good work. Okay, and then we're going to bend the knees, bring the hands to the thighs, and then hinge up from your hips up towards standing again. And then we're going to come to do a similar thing, sitting down on the floor. So you can take the blocks again and sit your sit bones down on the blocks. Could be one, could be two side by side, could be two stacked up on top of each other. Feel what feels right for you. And then again, taking your feet wide, maybe not as wide as before. And again, if you found that a bit of a challenge for your hamstrings, that previous pose, then bend your knees so that your spine can lift, so that you can be sitting on your sit bones and not rounded in your lower spine and landing on your tailbone. So your priority is not on the tailbone, sitting on the sit bones, lifting up, lengthening. Good. And then we're going to slide the right arm down the right leg, seeing how much you will do a lateral bend in your spine towards the right, but you'll also be hinging at that hip crease. Slide the hand down the leg towards the knee, maybe towards the ankle, and then slide the hand back up the leg again. And then slide the hand down the leg and feel how that feels, a stretch in the left side of the rib cage, and then slide the arm back up again. So you're sliding the hand down the thigh, maybe over the knee and all the way down towards the shin, and then slide back up again. Good. And then this time you slide back down. Just feel how far you can go with that hand, and then reach your left arm up and over your head and catch your ear, your right ear with your left hand, or the right side of your head with your left hand. Reach that left elbow back and feel it increases the stretch in the side of the back of your armpit, and breathe there. Press down through your feet, pull your tummy muscles in, pull your pelvic floor up. If your back doesn't feel nice, slide your right hand higher up the leg. So it's not a competition of reaching anywhere in particular. It's about feeling nice. Good. Radiating joy through the legs, through the arms, opening through the heart center. And then use your hand to pick up your head back to center and slide back up to center with your right arm, and then start to work on the other side. So you're sliding down the leg and then back up again. Just tuning in and seeing how does it feel on this side. Often we have a preference to where we laterally bend, to the right or to the left, and so one side might well feel easier than the other. Just tune in to see if you can understand this for yourself. Keep the weight in your sit bones, don't roll back onto the tailbone. If you find you've done that, then another block underneath you is a good idea, or bending your knees a bit more. Good. And then next time you slide your arm down, reach your right arm up and over the crown of your head and catch the other side of your head. It might not be the ear, it depends on how long your arms are. But it's very much at the side of your head, not towards the back. So it might be above your ear or on your ear. And you're reaching that right elbow up and back, so you're getting a bit of a twist in the rib cage, in the skull. And you're maybe feeling that inner thigh on the left lengthening a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Enjoy it. So make it enjoyable. If you need to slide your hand further up the leg, if you need to lift your head more to the center line, make it work for you. Rest the head in your hands so your neck can really relax. Good. And then inhaling and coming back up. Well done. So from here, we're going to come into bridge. So coming to lying on your back and perhaps having, I think it might be good to do a active bridge. So you don't need any blocks to hand. Bring your heels in line with your knees, in line with your hips and underneath your knees as much as possible. So pretty vertical. That's it. It's very, if you've got very long shins in relationship to your thighs, you can take your heels a bit further forwards than your knees. It's a little bit individual, as is everything. So bring your elbows close to your ribs and do that kind of Dalek shape. It can be quite good for activating the muscles in the upper back. So your elbows are at a right angle, your palms are facing each other, your fingers are pointing up towards the ceiling. Good. And you're pressing down through your heels, pressing down through your elbows, squeezing the buttock muscles. Nothing is under your head, remember, and lifting your pelvis up towards the ceiling, but your belly relaxes back into the back wall of the abdomen and your breath goes into your ribs, into your chest, underneath your collarbones, underneath your shoulder blades. Your breath goes everywhere, but not in your belly. Keep the knees pointing straight forward, so you might need to press into the inner balls of the feet and the heels and the outer balls of the feet as well, so you feel that sturdiness in the pose. And you might need to walk your shoulder blades a little bit in towards the spine and underneath you. Breathe and feel. Remember to breathe and feel that sort of spaciousness that you can create in your rib cage, in your chest. Good. Don't roll out onto the outer edges of your feet. Some people do that. Good work. If you know you're not going to get cramp, then lift the heels and roll down from the top vertebra in between your shoulder blades. Perhaps maybe you haven't come up as high, and that's okay. All the way down to the top of the sacrum, middle of the sacrum, and then bottom of the sacrum landing. Then the heels land. And then we've got a little choice here, whether we're going to do fish pose or a regular reclining cobbler pose. So the one that we usually do. This is a bit of a variation. So if you're going to try the fish pose, some supported modified fish pose, then take hold of your blanket and fold it. So roll over onto one side, coming up. Be mindful of how you come out of what you've been doing. And you want to fold the blanket into a rectangle shape that's the long edge of the rectangle is slightly wider than your mat. And then when you've got that shape, you're rolling it up into a sausage. So you're actually, it's sort of rounded. That's it. Now that rounded shape, you're going to lie back over it with your shoulder blades on that lift. Your arms are over the other side so that the blanket comes just kind of, your arms are definitely over the other side. Good. And then you're taking the soles of the feet together and the knees out to the sides. Now, if it feels too much, you can change the roll of the blanket and you can put a half block underneath your head. There's all sorts of variations that you can do if it feels too much. It's quite a little lift in your chest. Your shoulders, the tops of the backs of your shoulders should be on the floor. Good. And the palms of the hands, arms can be out in a T shape, palms facing upwards. Bring a little bit of purposefulness into your palms of your hands, stretchy palms. If you want more work for your shoulders and your rotator cuff and for opening across your chest, you can bring your arms into, it's a stick up, into cactus pose with the right angles at your elbows. Breathing there. Now, that's optional. If you want to, you can also pop blocks underneath your knees for the Baddha Konasana legs. So it's really kind of up to you how much or how little you want to go into this pose. If your back is uncomfortable, definitely come out and do a regular Baddha Konasana. There's no need. It wants to feel the joy. Yeah, we don't want to be feeling like, oh, this isn't very nice. It should feel challenging, but kind of comfortable, kind of opening and inspiring. So if you're not getting that feeling, go for the Baddha Konasana. And just notice how your breath is moving here. Feeling how the breath is ideally more moving in your rib cage and your upper chest. And if you are breathing into your belly at all, if you can feel the breath there, it's having to work harder because the abdominal muscles are drawn in, so the diaphragm is working against the resistance of the abdominal muscles. And that's really, really helpful for the diaphragm. It brings a lovely sense of calming into the system. And if you haven't got any blocks underneath your knees, then remember, press your heels together, press the balls of your feet together, and that will energize your legs and support your back. Just really feeling the breath in this posture, feeling the openness, feeling the space. Now, if it gets too much, then another thing you can do is just bring your feet to the ground, knees bent, soles of the feet flat on the ground. And then you'll get the benefit of the opening in your chest without tensing in your back too much. Okay, that's a good hold. So on an exhale, bringing your knees towards each other, your feet towards the ground. Maybe straightening your arms back out into a T shape if it wasn't there, and keep your knees bent. A nice way of coming out of this pose, because it's a pretty challenging pose, is just to roll over onto one side and then push up and take the blanket out from underneath you and make yourself comfortable for your Shavasana. So you know all the rules by now, or not the rules, the suggestions for Shavasana. You could have legs up on the sofa, you could have a bolster underneath your knees, you could have something underneath your head like a soft blanket over you. Do take the time to feel completely comfortable in your Shavasana. It's super important. Good, and then you might take a final check, lifting your head, just checking that your body is symmetrical around your spine. And then letting go. Letting go of any movement in the physical body, any conscious movement in the physical body. And tuning in, as soon as we let go of the physical body, we go either two places, either to the breath body, the energy body, or to the mental body. And I invite you to put the mental body aside as well, so that you're not so interested in the thoughts of what's happening next, or it's nearly over, I've got this and this and this to do. Let that go. You're still here doing yoga. So bring your attention just for these last 2 minutes into the body breathing. And feeling the body breathing, and the body has gone through a clearing process now because of the yoga practice, because of the physical practice, has cleared the nadis, which are rivers of energy that flow through us, similar to the meridian lines of acupuncture and qigong. And those nadis have been cleared. It's like they've been swept clearer. And now the breath energy can move through those nadis much more freely, much more powerfully. And so this posture at the end is just to rest in that experience of feeling prana flowing through you, through your spine, through your arms, through your legs, into all the organs of the body, into all the joints, all the muscles, all the tissues, all the blood vessels. Really enjoy this process might call it respiration, or you might call it a prana bath. It's really feeling and noticing and welcoming in that beautiful energy that comes in on the inhalation and welcoming the release of the exhalation and welcoming the ground underneath you, welcoming the air all around you. And welcoming this precious moment right here, right now. And staying with this moment. Lovely work. So I invite you to continue your practice. You'll get even deeper levels of bliss and comfort and joy if you go straight on to the relaxation practice associated with this. However, if you want to come out now, then just gently moving the head, rolling the head from side to side, having a little wiggle with your fingers, with your toes, having a bit of a stretch, having a bit of a yawn, and having an intention to keep some of that positivity with you as you carry on your evening or your day. Just hold a bit of that positivity within you. Namaste.